Okay, just an idea, I can kind of leave it with you, hot melt glue on bark.
Hot melt glue isn't going to hold the bark.
No.
Nails and screws won't really hold bark. The spur drive on your lathe doesn't even hold bark. You always have to drill a hole so you have good enough wood there to get a good bite on that spur drive. Otherwise, bark is just going to spin. And then eventually it can come flying off on you.
Okay.
So I would, if I were to cut this with a chainsaw, if I cut it this way straight through the end grain, it's very hard on my chainsaw and hard on my teeth of my chainsaw. It dulls it very fast because you're going straight through end grain. What I would do is I would turn this way. I would take a wedge here and a wedge here, and I would now chainsaw through here in this fashion. Now I am going across the grain. It's going to be a much easier cut. I'm going to get ribbons rather than dust.
With the grain.
Yeah, I mean with the...
You're cutting with the grain, yeah, with the side grain, rather than into the end grain. It's going to be easier cut. You're going to get ribbons rather than dust. Dust is more of an occupational hazard than ribbons can be.
Okay, after I just use a small chainsaw, and after I ruined my first one, there were a couple of reasons why, but one of them was I was doing that, and they said, especially with my little cuts, to not do that.
Yeah, with the small ones or the electric ones, they don't seem to have enough power to go through anything larger than, say, 4 inches. You need a really high-powered gas one. Over the years, I have 4 now. I have a small 16-inch one, I got a 2-foot one, I got a 4-foot one, and I got an 8-foot one. Depending on what I'm cutting and what I want to cut, it doesn't matter, I can cut it. Yeah, I can go down to the redwood forest and do some logging if I wanted to. But I won't find a tree that big, and actually, I use that one for slab cutting. For cutting big tree slabs, for live edge tables and stuff. That is when I need that big of a bar, because I need someone to hold that end on the handle, me to hold it this side, and we cut 3, 4, 5 foot diameter logs into tables. That's the only reason I have that one. I don't use that on turning stock. After that, once I split it in half, I only have 2 halves. So I can either do uniform bowls or live edge bowls. If I want to map this to get a wider selection of items, first things first, you always cut through the pith. So the pith is right in the center there, this line right here, this line right here.
You always do a single cut through the pith?
Yes. I do, and then I usually turn it wet and allow it to warp. If it's something I need to be totally bone dry, I will allow it to dry under that 10% and then turn it, but it's more likely to crack. If you really want that to be less likely to crack, you could do a saw cut on either side, but it's tricky because once I go through once, how am I going to balance this 1/2 to get another cut?
Yeah, but you wouldn't go through the first cut all the way.
No, you don't have to go through the first cut all the way, and then you can backpack alongside the other guy, and then cut straight through that one, and then straight through that one.
Yeah.
That way you could remove it. Once I've removed the pith, plate blanks are usually 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So here I could get 2 plates and a live edge bowl. I could also get a 3-inch plate, or I could get 2 3-inch boxes, 4 pens here, finials and pens there. But that compounds across the length. So really that 4 pens turns into 12. This turns into 8 finials and 8 finials. I use everything except the bark. I use that for fire starter. then I can come across here and I would get a live edge bowl. That would maximize my yield and maximize my pocket to what I can sell in the most amount of money in the log. I can all... Here's a couple small ones. I'll pass these around and you can see up close and personal what I'm talking about. These are small enough, they're easy enough to pass around.
What do you pay for these lots? Sure.
A lot of them are free. I know arborists, I have friends who take down trees. I've taken the course myself, so friends and family who want trees down, I'll take the wood rather than paying me $5 grand that I would pay an arborist. I'll take the wood. City workers, town workers, whenever they're pruning trees, if you hear a chainsaw fire up in your neighborhood, look to see what they're cutting down. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll give it to you for free.
Yep.
9 times out of 10.
Glad there's nobody in the shop.
First, they might try and charge it to you. They say, oh, well, is it worth anything? Sure, it's worth something, but they don't know that we don't know that they don't have to pay for the weight when they take it to the dump. Anything they take from a site or from a tree, they have to take to the dump and pay for weight. So if they try and charge you for it, say, no, that's okay, you can pay for it at the dump. I'll go find some free wood the next guy, because I know he doesn't want to pay for it at the dump. Then he'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, take whatever you want. And you'll get free wood for days. If you know any friends with woodlots, they're great to know. Also, the club has people who take down trees. They let the club know that trees have come down, come and get the wood, free picking. That's usually where I get my wood. Unless I need something kiln dried, which would be for cabinetry, carpentry, square boxes, any flatwork I would get at the lumberyard. If I need something that is kiln dried like a box, and I don't, if I use this stock for a box and I turn a box, as it dries it's going to move and shift and warp, so my connection will change and it won't fit properly. So you have to make sure with boxes or pepper mills that you have a crucial connection. You use kiln dried wood. There's no kiln and no lumberyard I know of that sell logs in log form. So you cannot get live edge wood from any lumberyard. Anything with live edge or bark on it, you have to get from arborists, hydro, friends, family, city workers pruning trees, and you have to dry it yourself. So 9 times out of 10, my wood is acquired, milled, dried, air dried to less than 10%, and then I will use it for crucial items like pepper mills and boxes. If it's live edge bowls, salad bowls, soup bowls, platters, anything sort of like a bowl that is able to warp and shift, it doesn't have a crucial connection, I would turn that wet and allow it to dry. It's dry in no time rather than waiting that 6 months to a year for it to dry. Here is another log that I mapped out, and I cut down the pith first. This one I did 2-inch bowls. 2-inch bowls are great for anything with depth. Soup, salad, serving bowls, fruit bowls. Plates are usually 1 inch. Plates or platters, you can get away with 1 inch. Live edge bowls can be any size you want. But for instance, with this log, I'll talk about that one in a sec. So here I did 2 2-inch bowls. The pith was off to one side. So cutting along it this way maximized my yield for 2 2-inch bowls, 1 1-inch plate, a live edge bowl. Here I can do a 3-inch deep bowl or 3 3-inch boxes. That's probably 1.5 feet. So once that's dry and I cut the cracks off, I'll either get 1 pepper mill out of each of these, or 2 boxes. And then again, I have a live edge bowl. So there I'm maximizing the yield. Anything on these sides are finials, pens, drawer pulls, knobs, spinning tops, anything small, really.
Okay, when you get some fresh wood, do you do anything to it right at the beginning in terms of cutting it? Or do you just take it into the log forms, put it to the side, and let it dry in the log form?
These ones, I have not done anything to it. I haven't put anchor seal, I haven't put end seal, I haven't put log seal, anything on it. I haven't treated or cut it in any way. Once I acquire the logs, they go, wood storage 1 is my mom's garage, wood storage 2 is my uncle's garage, wood storage 3 is my garage and basement. So first thing I would do, I would take these logs in log form and I would stand them straight up on a piece of cardboard or a piece of carpet, or you don't want it sitting directly on the concrete surface because the concrete is like a sponge. It stays wet, it stays cold, it keeps moisture. So if you put this on concrete, it's going to rot from the bottom up. But in doing so, putting it on cardboard or a carpet, that moisture by gravity disperses out the bottom into the carpet or the cardboard and then into the atmosphere, slowly drying this log. So this log very rarely cracks on the bottom, but it cracks on the top. That is where I remove that 2 inches of material, now giving me the same distance in length as it is in diameter. That would be how I would dry logs. If I had them sitting like this, it'll check and crack here, it'll check and crack here until I mill it and cut it up. This was cut down in January. So I always leave them at least 2 to 3 months standing straight up because it will lose probably half its moisture, and then I mill it on the bandsaw, and then I seal the ends, and then I let it dry. If it's for bowls, plates, platters that I don't care if they work, they're turned that day that I mill up the wood. Or I'll mill up a wood for a day, the next day I turn everything I milled up that day. Then it goes in the drying room, the reptile room, which is heat and humidity controlled. If anybody needs a reptile pet for their grandkids or wife, I'll hook you up.
When you're standing that on the end, the up end, what if you were to wax it?
If you wax it, there's nowhere for the water to escape
Except down.
So the top surface will spalt and mold and start rotting because you sealed in all that moisture. It will still come out the bottom, spalt and rot because of that moisture. But I don't leave it that long. I mill it up 3 months later. And then I seal the ends. Now those ends are sealed. Now I would seal these ends, and now that I have no bark here, it's able to dry freely through the side grain. It dries at a faster rate than through the bark, and it slowly dries through the end grain when you seal the end grain. Less likely to crack. You might get minimal cracking or small fractures on the sides, but they won't go nearly as deep as, say, end grain fractures. Sometimes end grain fractures like these ones here, that goes in 2 inches at least.